Balance changes will be here tomorrow, and oh my god, I am so happy right now, like you can't even believe it. Today I'm gonna show you all of the balance changes and how I feel like the meta is gonna develop, and let's get right into them. First we have the Barbarian. Barbarian had his HP buffed from 12 to 15, and most importantly, his passive now instead of being a 4% buff, it will be a 5% buff. Now, even though this does not sound like a great deal, it is. Like, the speed buff just got a 25% buff when you really think about it. At 0 stars, when the Barbarian is at 1 HP, he will have a 70% attack speed buff. Like, that's just crazy. I know it's a bit unlikely, but let's just then think about 3-star Barbarian. He's almost dying. In that period, he has around 39 HP. Let's guess that he lost 35 HP. He would have 175 attack speed buff, dealing 3 damage, and that would mean that he would have around a 3 attack speed and dealing 3 damage, 9 DPS. That's just crazy. And we are not even thinking with the clan synergy that adds him another 12 HP. That would mean that when at almost 1 HP, he would have a 200 and a bit attack speed buff. And honestly, it's not a lot, but I could definitely see Barbarian going to the beat here. Next we have the Dagger Goblin, and he will now also have the Rogue synergy. And another change that I'm just so happy to see, I mean, he literally has the symbol of the rogues in his hand. And with his passive and the 6-time ability, he can just deal so much damage. I still don't think that he will be very meta, but this just opens the doors for him to be so versatile in other decks, and I can't wait to try him out. Next we have the Gar, and it looks like my video worked. His shield was increased from 8 to 10, and his first ability was increased from +4 shield to +5 shield. Honestly, I would have rather have something a little bigger, maybe the HP buff instead, but honestly I am already happy to see that they are trying to buff him somehow. I still don't think that he'll be that great, but let's just see how it works. Next we have the Miner, and his second ability, instead of being Boast Get Rage, it will now be while isolated he has Rage, kinda how Hog Rider's third ability works. Personally, I feel like this is a nerf. Honestly, his Boast could sometimes be really good and just stack and actually be kinda helpful, but with these he will just be limited to just always having a 30% attack speed buff, which can be helpful, but I honestly prefer the old one. Next we have the Knight, and he got his taunt increased from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. Honestly, I don't really get it. It can be helpful, but I would rather have his second ability go back to be +4 seconds of duration. But I mean, he was already the best 2 elixir tank, so I guess that it makes sense for him to receive the smallest buff out of them all. Next we have the Golden Giant, and he got his HP increased from 30 to 35, which can be very helpful because his healing abilities are based on his HP, and his energy cost will be reduced from 8 to 7. Bob, this is like the 3rd energy cost reduction that he received, but the HP buff might be very helpful, and I think that he'll be slightly better, honestly. But now let's talk about a real big buff. Royal Recruit's second ability, now instead of being to the nearest ally, it will be to the 2 nearest allies, which is just so much value. And on top of that, his third ability will now only cost 6 energy to use the ability, and his HP per star got increased from +9 to +10. He will be really strong. Like, just imagine, for 6 energy you'll give block for 6 seconds to 3 allies, to yourself and 2 allies. Like, that is just crazy. The amount of protection that he will give to the entire team, it's just unbelievable. Archer Queen got her first promotion duration increased from 4 seconds to 5 seconds. Honestly, no big deal. That was not the reason why she got weak out of nowhere. I personally feel like they should have buffed her attack speed or something like that, but hey, a buff it's a buff after all. Countess got 2 nerfs. Her HP was reduced from 44 to 42, and her first promotion, instead of being plus 6 damage, it will now be plus 5 damage. Honestly, the first ability was just way too much damage. She would just delete you out of nowhere. Like, it was just really crazy, and the anti-heal can be really annoying, and she was honestly a bit too beefy in my opinion, so glad to see these nerfs. Wave Master, another crazy buff. His energy cost was reduced from 9 to 8, and his super damage will be increased from 2 times damage to 3 times damage. Oh my god, what is this? His C synergy just got buffed recently, and now they're gonna buff Wave Master? Oh, this is gonna be a very toxic Sailor meta. Because when you promote him, he deals 3 damage, so with his super he will deal 9 damage across the whole board. He will just be so good, honestly. Swordsman, Valkyrie, and the Royal Ghost, they will all have their abilities, or better, their boast abilities, appear immediately instead of over 3 seconds. That is honestly such a big buff. Valkyrie will just instantly heal 30% of her HP. That is actually really good. Like, out of nowhere you just heal 30% of your HP. I could see especially Valkyrie and Swordsman being really good. Next we have Lumberjack, and he received a very messed up rework. His potion will no longer give energy, which was like the only reason why he was usable, but they increased his HP per upgrade from plus 10 to plus 12, and he will now also have the clan synergy. So I guess that they are trying to make him some sort of tank, which we already seen in the past that it doesn't work, but I would not be surprised if he just went down in that tier list. Infernal Warrior with her 3rd buff in a row. Her energy cost was reduced from 7 to 6, and her initial energy was reduced from 5 to 4. So she will still need 2 other energy to cast her first super, but now with your 3rd ability, you only need the enemy team to cast exactly 3 supers for her to immediately get her super back, which could be very dangerous, honestly. But to be honest, I don't think that this will change much. The Inferno mechanic by itself, it's just way too limited, but let's just see how it works. Headhunter! I hate this guy. He got kind of a nerf bug fix, where now whenever his synergy, the bonus damage would pop up, he would no longer receive energy. So whenever he used the super, you could see that he sometimes just gained energy back, and this could be especially dangerous with his piercing, making cycling supers that is no more. And still speaking of bugs, we have the Ice Wizard, and he will no longer perma-freeze someone. So this means that slows in this game will no longer stack. What would happen is that your slows would continuously stack, and eventually they would just freeze to death. So yeah. And we finally have a nerf to the War Machine, or most importantly to his gizmos. His mirror HP will be reduced from 40 to 32, and the Puncho Muncho Machine now will attack every 2.5 seconds. And now, the most useless stuff I have ever seen in my life, the Hotpot HP is being reduced from 30 to 24. What the hell is this?